I am going to tell you who I plan to vote for, barring something earth-shattering between now and November 8th that takes place. I want to share it with you, not because I think I'm someone special, but because I've been asked almost day and night for months now who I'm going to vote for. And to the extent my thoughts, my viewpoints are of value to you, then you can factor those things in. I am not doing this to win anyone's favor or to stir up controversy. In point of fact, by declaring who I'm going to vote for, I'll stir up a lot of controversy on all sides. In other words, it's not one of these things that you do for ratings purposes, that you get more people behind you or liking you. I mean, I never do that. I don't calculate that. I seek to obey the Lord and do what I believe is right in his sight, regardless of cost or consequence. I'm not endorsing a candidate, but I will share who I'm voting for and why. So we'll do that in a few minutes, and I welcome your phone calls. You can agree with me. You can disagree with me. And I want to encourage you to look at the elections perhaps in a different way than we have been looking at them, in particular as followers of Jesus with conservative moral values. Again, the number to call, 866-348-7884. Before I get into that, I've got some exciting news for you. So the book that Nancy and I wrote together, the first book she's ever written with me. Now she's carefully proofed many of my books and critiqued them and helped me immensely. But this is the first one we actually co-authored, Breaking the Stronghold of Food. Its official release is January 3rd. New year, new you. So if you want to go online and order that, Amazon is the best place to do it, Amazon.com. Go ahead and pre-order a copy, and you'll get it the first week or so of the new year. But if you'd like to get the book in time for Christmas, those of you who celebrate Christmas or give out gifts at Christmas, those of you who want to get it for yourself or for a holiday gift, we are offering a collector's edition. This will be the first printing of the book. The first, however it is, first 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, however many copies are pre-ordered from us like this in advance. We will number them. So you'll know, I got book number 31. I got book number 146. I got book number 2. We'll number them. We'll put a scripture reference in there, and then Nancy and I will both sign the books to you. So it just kind of makes it special. And this is a book that could really change your life. This is a book that could be the difference between life and death. We tell your own stories. You'll laugh. You'll be convicted. You'll be challenged. You'll be encouraged. You'll be helped immensely. I feel that Nancy's comments, which are interspersed throughout the book and then in a few special sections in the back, are worth the price of the book alone. So, we look at, say, the bad health effects of alcohol drinking or alcoholism, cigarette smoking, things like that, even the negative health effects of living in poverty. Those pale when compared to the negative health effects of overeating, eating unhealthy foods, and things like that. I mean, you can't even compare them. This book will help you break the stronghold of food in your own life. To order, go to thelineoffire.org. Again, this is only to get it before Christmas, and it's a special edition, numbered and signed. You're also helping us with our own ministry. So order today at thelineoffire.org. So are these elections rigged? Is there a conspiratorial attempt by Washington insiders, by the liberal media, to keep Donald Trump out? Is it possible that the same liberal media that gave him so much free airtime, almost a free pass, and hundreds of millions of dollars of free advertising, according to some, is it possible that that same media simply did it to prop up Donald Trump as the candidate or the easiest for Hillary Clinton to defeat? Many believe that. 866-34-TRUTH. And folks will say, hey, you can't mess with Hillary Clinton. Many have pointed out that Dr. Drew on CNN questioned her health, and the next thing was canned. Oh, no, there's no connection to that. He was going to be canned anyway. Others say, you kidding me? Not to get treated like that. Here's something interesting. This is a CNN, a panel discussion with news anchor Chris Cuomo, against Republican pro-Trump Congressman Chris Collins and Democrat pro-Hillary Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. And Collins brings up how WikiLeaks release revealed some duplicity with Hillary Clinton found in the John Podesta emails. Let's listen to clip 6.
Well, on the character issue, the public, 2/3 or more of the public know that Hillary Clinton's a liar. She can't be trusted. And now the two faces of Hillary Clinton are coming out. The fact through WikiLeaks that she says one thing and...
Oh, no. All right, let's see if we can get Congressman Collins back. Obviously, we just lost his satellite feed.
Okay. Now listen, I do live talk radio all the time. And trust me, I know that there can be technical difficulties. I know that these things can happen. But was this not just a technical difficulty? It's a question people ask when they see enough pattern where people just get shut down. Well, we're not going there. We're not going there. Or the same media that was all over these ridiculous reports from the National Enquirer that Ted Cruz had 5 mistresses. When the National Enquirer reports about Hillary Clinton having male and female trysts and all this stuff and set up by insiders, and they don't even touch that. You say, well, they shouldn't touch it. Well, then don't touch it with Ted Cruz either. Why the duplicity? Why the double standard? And trust me, if the WikiLeaks files were coming out and they were revealing things about Donald Trump's campaign, that's all you'd hear day and night in this very same media that wants to suppress any discussion of it when it comes to Hillary Clinton. And you got some real bad stuff that's coming out. You say, well, I mean, look, the emails were hacked. They were stolen. We don't want to use that. In fact, go to clip number 9. We don't want to refer to those because they were stolen. Okay, I understand that. Someone hacked. Hillary Clinton says 17 intelligence agencies and different organizations of the government say it was Russia who did it. Whoever it was, I don't know. No, I've got no expertise in that. I don't know who did it. It wasn't me. I don't know how to hack anything for that matter. But whoever did it, here's what Marco Rubio said about using WikiLeaks. Clip number 9.
Senator Marco Rubio says these are stolen emails hacked by the Russians and that they shouldn't be used. This is what he tells ABC News. These leaks are an effort by a foreign government to interfere with our electoral process, and I will not indulge it. Further, I want to warn my fellow Republicans who may want to capitalize politically on these leaks. Today it is the Democrats. Tomorrow it could be us.
I respect that. Stuff was stolen, and therefore you don't want to give credence to it, or you don't want to play into it. That's like negotiating with terrorists kind of thing. It only empowers them. On the flip side, it is truth that needs to get out to the public. It is whoever revealed it. You could say that God is the ultimate one who revealed this by allowing it to happen or by exposing secret sin. And what I'd say was, let it be the Republican Party next. In other words, where there's corruption, let it be exposed. If my emails, I don't mean being silly with the family about something, or sharing, the depths of my heart about something going on, just talking the way I only would to my wife or something like that. You don't want the whole world to know, this is going on in my, my life, or, just really praying and so burdened about this. I've been, there's certain things you're just sharing more privately, or like I say, family being silly and circulating some pictures, some funny looking dog and all laughing about that. But even so, I don't want to have any secrets in that respect. Everyone should be able to read my emails and say, oh, that's who we thought Mike Brown was. That's consistent. So that's not my concern. If the Republicans are just as guilty, let them be exposed. Yeah, I'm sensitive to what Marco Rubio is saying, but hey, if I don't have any skeletons in my closet, go ahead and check out my closet. And if I messed up, it was something stupid I said 3 years ago, but here I immediately repudiate it the next day on radio and in writing. Okay, there it is. It's done and it's done. So is there a real attempt to prop up Hillary Clinton, keep down Donald Trump? How does that play in with the larger issue of the elections? And how does it influence who I am voting for? I'm about to reveal my choice in a moment. Ben Shapiro says two things can be true at the same time. It's wrong if Russia hacked these emails, and the content of the emails still true. And by the way, have you heard John Podesta, have you heard Hillary Clinton say, well, those emails are forged? No. And Donna Brazile, who, according to WikiLeaks, was found to have fed a question. She got a question in advance of one of the presidential debates and fed it to Hillary Clinton verbatim. When Megan Fox challenged her on it, she said, well, I'm a Christian. I know this to be persecuted. With all respect, I don't know if you're a Christian or not, Ms. Brazile. I don't know you at all. But you're not being persecuted when you're caught lying or caught doing something duplicitous. It's not persecution. And listen to what Chris Cuomo famously said. This was back in the before Hillary Clinton had entered the race, as 2014, clip number 7, talking about whether or not the media helped Hillary Clinton. This is before she was even announcing that she was running for president. Number 7.
She's on her way to deciding.
We'll see.
About deciding.
We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
You know what I mean? She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaign, so it better happen.
Okay. That clip should be played about 10,000 times a day. The Trump campaign, if they want to get this out and further support their idea that there is a conspiratorial attempt to keep them down, or just that their same types of people are all opposing him, that should be played over and over and over and over. Okay. So who am I going to vote for? 866-348-7884. You can go to thelineoffire.org and read my latest articles. I've got a couple up, one of them in which I expose Snopes.com, supposedly an unbiased fact-checking website that many have gone to, that I've gone to and found useful. But when it comes to certain political issues, they're being exposed for their liberal bias. So they're not actually checking facts. They're giving their opinion and interpretation. So you can read that article. And then my article, are you ready? Why I will vote for Donald Trump. Why I will vote for Donald Trump. You say, Dr. Brown, you've got videos on YouTube and articles online that were read by tens of thousands or watched by tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions saying why we shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And you endorsed Ted Cruz, and you sounded warnings about Donald Trump. And you even said that he could be a National Enquirer candidate for a Jerry Springer generation. Yes, absolutely true. And Mike, you say that you have respect for the never Trumpers. Absolutely true. And you say that Donald Trump could potentially do a lot of harm as president. Absolutely true. And I want to tell you why I am voting for Donald Trump unless something absolutely earth-shattering happens between now and November 8th. So in my article, I say, before you applaud me for my integrity or condemn me for selling out, allow me to explain my decision. So again, first, I'm only sharing it because I've been asked a lot. I prayed about it, talked to Nancy about it, and felt I need to share why. I need to say why. And I'm not endorsing Donald Trump. A vote is a vote. Endorsing to me is something far, far beyond that, and associates you with a candidate far, far beyond that. And I respect those in the never Trump camp. I will take issue with those who are going to vote for Hillary. I will take issue with you to your face, with respect, but I will take issue with you to your face. But I respect those in the never Trump camp. I understand the possibility that a Donald Trump presidency could further vulgarize and degrade the nation, could further deepen our ethnic and racial divides, could potentially alienate our allies and unnecessarily provoke our enemies. I respect that. I understand that. And I take strong exception to evangelicals who fawned over Donald Trump as if he's some kind of savior figure or Saint Donald, okay? Or those who say, well, let him who's without sin cast the first stone. Oh, hang on. So we can't make moral assessments just because none of us are perfect? We can't make moral assessments as to someone's fitness to be president? Nonetheless, I am absolutely planning to vote for Donald Trump. I'll explain why when we come back.
The election is being rigged by corrupt media pushing false allegations and outright lies in an effort to elect Hillary Clinton president.
Now, there's no question that Donald Trump has done enough things to short-circuit his own campaign, that without some of his very obvious errors, without his weak way of dealing with some problems, ugly problems from the past, he could easily be way ahead. And if we had other candidates who did not have as much baggage as Donald Trump, then they could easily be defeating Hillary Clinton. Many feel that way. But could God be raising up Donald Trump for a purpose? You heard my interview last week with Dr. Lance Wallnau, who's written the book God's Chaos Candidate, and said that Donald Trump is like a wrecking ball to the political correctness of today and to the PC establishment. So a wrecking ball does a lot of harm and good at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Here, Donald Trump is not a surgeon. He's a wrecking ball. Would you agree with that? Okay. He's not coming in with precise comments to do careful surgery on a patient in a life and death situation. He's coming in with a wrecking ball to knock down a building that shouldn't be standing anymore. Now, do I hope or wish he would use greater wisdom in doing it and demonstrate more godly character and restraint? Of course. But let me explain why I'm voting for Donald Trump, and then gladly I'll take your calls. 866-348-7884. And I just want to explain, I've been consistent in my position. During the primaries, I issued strong warnings against voting for Trump while we had other excellent choices. And I said if he won the nomination, then I would reevaluate my position when it's Trump versus Hillary. Okay? Once he became the Republican candidate, I wrote that I was rooting for him to take steps in the right direction and win my vote. And I've said repeatedly, under no circumstances would I vote for Hillary. So I've been consistent in that respect. And I didn't go from warning about Donald Trump to now fawning over Donald Trump. However, here's why I'm voting for him in a nutshell. Number one, I believe that he is actually serious about appointing pro-life, pro-Constitution Supreme Court justices. His running mate, Governor Mike Pence, has come right out and said we want to overturn Roe v. Wade. Donald Trump said on this last debate, if you're pro-life, you want to overturn Roe v. Wade. And he said in his address at Gettysburg, I'm going to appoint Supreme Court Justice to replace Justice Scalia from this list of 20. I'm going to do that. I believe he's been steadfast in that long enough that he's not going to flip-flop. Now, of course, anything can happen, but that was one of my concerns, that he'd flip-flop. I believe he's serious about this at this point. And I think he's seen the ugliness of the other side. Number two, one reason I endorsed Senator Cruz was he took on the political establishment, calling it the Washington cartel. Well, Trump is the ultimate wrecking ball to the political establishment. If he's not elected, he's probably going to go tooth and nail after the media and after the political establishment. If he is elected, the Democrats will be in shambles and the Republicans will be in shambles in terms of party, and then there's going to be a lot of rebuilding to do. Third, I'm voting for the Republican platform, not the Republican Party. Fourth, while I've always felt that the line we're electing a president, not a pastor, was overstated and superficial, if we rephrased it to say we're electing a general to train hand-to-hand combat warriors, not a pastor, it might have more relevance. In other words, we're not looking for Trump to be a moral reformer, even if he does appoint righteous judges. He's certainly anything but a moral example, although we pray he'll be truly converted and become one. But when the choices for president are this stark, what if we need to think again about what the president's going to do? What if it's just a matter of getting some roughshod person in there with all kinds of faults and weaknesses that are shouting out to the world, and then are not hidden at all? But what if the goal is to get someone in that's actually going to stand up for religious liberty and give the church a respite to do what's right before the axe falls, so to say? Under a radical liberal Democrat president, there could be all kinds of problems for the church. Now, that may be the way to wake up, but it could just be a bit of a respite. So what if we're not voting for president the way we normally would because of the day in which we're living? And then within the first few minutes of the last debate, you could not have underscored the differences in Hillary's positions and Trump's. I mean, Hillary will vote for justices that will almost make you go underground with pro-life views and pro-marriage and family views. That I don't think that's that much of an overstatement. All right. Whereas Trump was saying the exact opposite with Supreme Court justices. And it's like, okay, but that's ultimately we're voting for one or the other there. And then 6, Trump continues to be drawn to conservative Christians. So I've been watching this. I've been monitoring this for months now. He's not pushing them away. He keeps listening. They have his ear. That's positive. That means that potentially they could keep speaking into his life after the elections, and people close to him say there are some changes. Hopefully, they'll get deeper and more real. And then 7th, although I'm aware that the president could do great harm or good, I'm much more concerned with what we as God's people do with our own lives and witnesses. And for me, the state of the Church of America is much more important than the state of the White House. As Dr. King said years ago, the church must be reminded that it's not the master or the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and critic of the state, never its tool. If the church does not recapture its prophetic zeal, he said, it will become an irrelevant social club without moral or spiritual authority. Does that speak to us today? You better believe it. So ultimately, my vote's just a vote. My trust is in God, not Donald Trump. My urgent call is for followers of Jesus to get our own act together. I'm going to continue to urge believers not to vote for Hillary Clinton. And ultimately, the most effective way to defeat Hillary is to vote for Trump. I've had to wrestle with it for months now, but that's where I have landed. 866-348-7884. I'm going to continue to talk about this for 90 minutes. I'm going to go to the phones immediately. You say, oh, but Mike, we only get your show the first half hour. Hey, no problem. Keep listening online. Just go to thelineoffire.org and click on Listen Line. You can do it on your cell phone. You can do it on your tablet. You can do it on your computer. You can catch the show later on. You can even get on the phone now, 866-34-TRUTH. And as soon as we start taking calls, even if you're not listening to the show, you can call in anytime in the next hour and a half. All right, so we come back. Renee, Cassandra, Marie, you are first. And in case you missed the announcement earlier, the brand new book that Nancy and I co-authored, Breaking the Stronghold of Food. Oh, could be the most important book I've written. The first ever we've written together because of so many lives that'll be positively impacted and so many people who can go from struggles with obesity and gluttony and overweight and health-related issues and spiritual bondages to a place of real freedom. I don't think I'm overhyping the book at all. You will be thrilled when you read it, and you'll be spiritually empowered, and it's practical as well. You just go to Amazon if you want to order it for January 3rd, but if you'd like to get it in time for Christmas, a special edition that will be numbered and signed by Nancy and me. It's the only time it'll be numbered, the first printing, and signed by us. Go to the website, thelineoffire.org. You cannot pre-order it anywhere else in order to get it in time for Christmas except through us, thelineoffire.org.
I have never seen a campaign that has less discipline, less focus, less of an effective vision at a time when more Americans are demanding a change in the way their government works. This should have been a slam dunk for the GOP.
That is Frank Luntz. You've seen him sometimes on TV. He will meet with focus groups and discuss, as the debate's going on, how it impacted them, voters who represent a wide stream of a broad stream of others. And how did the debate influence you? And on the one hand, yeah, you could say undisciplined, and certainly it should have been a slam dunk to take down Hillary Clinton. On the flip side, the Trump rallies apparently are massive. I mean, how that's going to work out, the polls accurate or not, I mean, I don't know. I certainly don't know. But it is interesting, though, that the message is getting out resonates with people. Now, please hear me again, then I'm going to go straight to your calls. I do not have sympathy with evangelical voters who are painting Donald Trump in these saintly terms and so on. Yeah, I believe there's more to the man than you see in public. Christian friends who've met with him have told me that repeatedly, and they're impressed with his relationship with his family and so on and so forth. But, St. Donald. No. Let's recognize who the man is. Let's recognize the super obvious false blemishes, weaknesses, failings. And let's say, okay, could God want to use him because of those things while working on him to change? 866-34-TRUTH. Again, I respect those who say, sorry, I just can't vote for him. I respect that. I don't respect those. Well, excuse me. I respect you as a human being if you're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. But I say you're making a terrible mistake if you're a follower of Jesus, one that you will deeply regret in days to come. I still respect you as a fellow human being. I don't want to misstate that. But I will urge you to reconsider. All right, let's go to the phones. We start with Renee in New York. Welcome to the Line of Fire. Hello, Renee. All right, if you're there, we can't hear you. So, Howard, let's check on Renee. Let's go to Cassandra in Boston. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hi, Dr. Brown. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad that I get the chance to hear your show. I was picking up my son from school.
Wonderful.
I'm so glad that you're talking about this issue because it doesn't resonate with a lot of born-again Christians because people are throwing stones at Donald Trump. And I'm saying to myself, what were you doing before? You were not saintly before you came to Christ. You see what I'm saying? So Christ has to change you to be the person who you are now. And then you cannot stand the man for making the mistake of who he was. He was not a born-again Christian. He was somebody who was out in the limelight like most of the people out there. But at least, it came about because he made a mistake and he owned up to the mistake. But you cannot stone the person and say you're not voting for him because of that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
And also, you've got, and I've been watching the news, and you've got, so-called inspirational preachers who has shows on television, inviting Oprah, and Oprah going on TV and said, you don't have to like Hillary, but you just need to vote for her. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, as a woman, and you're saying, you're a Bible believer, whatever. That's what she says. I'm not, I don't know what's in her heart. And you live with a man, not married with this man, okay? And you're sitting there, and they're going to be for abortion. And you're sitting at the preacher's feet. I mean, at the set where this inspirational preacher has a show on TV, and you're telling his congregation and his guests who are mostly, Christians, I think they are. You're saying to go vote for Hillary.
Yeah. So I just got to jump in. We've got a break. I want to come back to Oprah on the other side of the break. Let me say with absolute clarity, whatever Oprah Winfrey says about Christianity, she 100% denies the gospel with her words. So let me comment on your thoughts when we come back. Thanks, friends, for joining us on the Line of Fire. 866-348-7884, the number to call. This is Michael Brown. You are listening to the Line of Fire. I'm interacting with callers now, my listening audience, in terms of why I have decided that I will vote for Donald Trump. Some of you say, well, you should have seen this months ago. No, a lot of things had a process, watch, look at, listen to, and for others saying, well, you've been a hypocrite. No, I've been consistent. And if you'll read my article, go to thelineoffire.org and just look at recent articles. You'll see it's number 1 or 2 there. Why I will vote for Donald Trump. You'll see that my position has been consistent, that my concerns remain the same, and my hope remains the same. But to respond very quickly to our caller from our caller Cassandra, when people say, look, don't throw a stone at Donald Trump, who's without sin, cast the first stone. I agree with you that if we're condemning him for his past today, that is not consistent with showing grace. What people are concerned about is not so much who he was in the past, but who he is today. In other words, did he respond rightly to that tape from 2005 that came out with his gross comments about women? Comments that have deeply upset women, especially who've been abused and harassed. That's going to be the president? You said that was 2005. Yeah, I wasn't surprised. That did not affect my view of him at all. That's who I assumed he was. The question is, who is he today? You say, well, how do we know who he is today? Well, those around him for the last year, 2, 3, 4, 5, is that his behavior? Is that the way he talks in private now? How deeply does he regret those comments? On the one hand, he says he's ashamed, he hates it, but then he said it's locker room talk. In other words, he's trying to say he didn't actually do the things, he was just talking about it the way guys do, but that was not sufficient. He needed to repudiate it, and still can, in clearer terms, to say it's to call it locker room talk further degraded women, and it's not my heart. Also, the way he insulted women like Megyn Kelly and others during the campaign makes people wonder about who he is today. So that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue. But I do believe that he's heard the gospel more in the last 6 months than in all his life before that, 10 times over, 100 times over, and people are in his face calling him to step higher and to turn to the Lord and to do what's right. As far as the liberal pastors that will be on Oprah Winfrey and supporting Hillary Clinton, to me, that's horrific. I will renounce it, denounce it, and call them to repent. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's try to go back to Renee in New York City. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to thank you for not endorsing. That's a big. But
can I get you to talk right into the phone? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Can
that's
you hear
much
me better now?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. I think Donald Trump has been consistent. I think he's the same now as it's just that he's bigger. He's an adult, as he was when he was expelled from a prestigious private school for misbehavior. He's out of control. They didn't know what to do with him then.
Mm-hmm.
And if his father's money couldn't keep him in this school, that just shows you he really must have been off the hook. He's still off the hook. He's not, to me, he's all about getting even. How juvenile can that be? Really? It's just mind-boggling that people would trust him to have all the information that he's going to get as president and to sit in front of people around the world with some sort of dignity. Let me
ask you this, Renee. Juvenile is a great way to characterize some of the behavior. And I say this as someone who plans to vote for him. I think that's a great way of describing it. Others have described it. They've even said his sentence structure is like that of a sixth grader or things like that. Because, you just know. I know, for example, that when I'm behind these radio mics, however many people I speak to, it's a lot of people, that every word counts and I have to conduct myself a certain way, and that a thought may come to my mind, to crack some joke that's kind of funny, and it's like, not on the radio. That could make someone feel bad, or you have to think these things through. But
that's
a child, right? But a child doesn't. So there's no question during the debates, on his tweets and speeches, that a lot of his words and behavior have been juvenile. I think that's a great characterization. But here's what's interesting. I don't doubt that when he's in a meeting with high-level business people cutting a deal, that he doesn't behave differently. When he's met with pastors and leaders, he's behaved differently. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is when he met with the president of Mexico, he was like a statesman. And when he met with the leader of Egypt, who's a Muslim, and his leadership corps that was with him, they met with him and they met with Hillary Clinton, and they were much more favorable on Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton. So I think he can act in a right way. His Supreme Court justices, that's a stellar list. Does he know who all of them are? I don't know if he knows who half of them are, but he's asked people for good input. So yes, could he be a wild card that's going to do something crazy and next thing we're in a world war? I understand why people are concerned about that, because of the potential of juvenile behavior. Okay, I'm going to get back at somebody, as opposed to you're the president of the United States.
It's so deep-rooted in him.
Right.
He really can't help it. It's sad.
Right.
He
but
can't help it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You say, why am I voting for him? Because I'm looking at the election a little bit differently. I'm looking at it in terms of the incredible damage Hillary Clinton would do, including muzzling the church. You say, well, she can't muzzle. Look, we've been so wimpy and unwilling to speak out when it costs us nothing. You think we're going to speak out when it costs us tax exemption? You think we're going to speak out when we have to go off the air? You think we're going to speak out when we could have our Christian schools shut down? You think we're going to speak out when we have to go to jail? All that could potentially happen. Look, and Renee, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. But listen, California passes a law that if you have a pro-life pregnancy center, so it's obviously run by Christians and people who love babies and life. So you go there, I'm pregnant, I don't know what to do. And they say, okay, look, let's talk about your baby. Let's look at an ultrasound and see what your baby looks like. Let's look at options. Okay, if you keep the baby, here are ways we could help get you support. All right, you could give the baby up for adoption. That's another option. Now the law requires them. The law requires them to give out a piece of literature. Well, here's another option for you. Here's a local abortion clinic. What? The law requires them to do it, and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld that. Dr. Dobson has said civil disobedience, refused to do it, of course. And I believe there'll be many that are courageous enough to do it. A Hillary Clinton presidency would appoint justice to the Supreme Court that would absolutely nail that wall, that law to the wall, fix it. That's it. So there are a lot of issues that are larger, and I see that God could use Donald Trump, as others have said, as a divine wrecking ball. What he needs, though, is godly wisdom around him to restrain the negative effects of the wrecking ball. 866-34-TRUTH. We go to Potomac, Maryland. Marie, welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hi, Dr. Brown. I listen all the time. Dr. Brown, I'm in agreement with everything you've said. About a year ago or more, I wrote an email, and I used your words, for such a time as this. Of course, I just heard you say them. And I had emails back from all my people that know me, and they said, "What? Are you really writing this? Is this you, Marie?" You know, saying that Donald Trump could be called by God for such a time as this and to keep an open mind. And sure enough, you're speaking those words today. But what I really called about was that journalist repeat you just played. Is there any way you could forward that to the Trump campaign so that
the Chris Cuomo one saying that we've helped her?
Yeah, was it Chris? Okay, I got in late and I didn't hear who it was. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, JJ, let's lead in the next hour with it. That's going to be clip number 7. The next segment we'll lead in with that. You know what? I don't have direct contact with the Trump campaign, but one of my dear friends is in touch with the Trump campaign just about every day. I can't imagine that with all the people they have out there that they don't have it. But I don't see the ads. It's rare that I'll see a TV ad for one of the candidates, so I don't know if they're using it. But great idea. I will send that link over to my colleague and tell the Trump people, hey, you know what to do with this. Get the message out. Hey, Marie, thank you for calling. Yeah, look, others have been saying God was raising up Trump for a moment like this. I've had many questions about it and reservations to this day, but absolutely, I plan to vote for him. We'll be right back.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
She's on her way to deciding.
We'll see.
About deciding.
We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
You know what I mean? She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaign, so it better happen.
Again, that was Chris Cuomo in 2014 when Hillary was deciding whether to go in or not and run for the presidency. If we're giving her a free pass, we couldn't have helped her any more than we have. Did that say it all or not? 866-34-TRUTH. So one reason I'm voting for Donald Trump is that it's a protest vote. It is also a protest. It's a protest against the Republican establishment and Democrat establishment and the media establishment. That's part of the vote. And if he gets in, to me, I'm going to sound the trumpet as loud as I can for the church to wake up and not put their hope in a man and to get about doing the business that we're called to do, especially while we have the liberty to do it. And if Hillary gets in, the same message even louder, because we're not going to have an open door as long. What are we going to do? How are we going to respond? 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go to All right, sorry about that. Let's try Joe on Long Island. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Yeah, hi, this is Joe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to, the word that comes to me with Hillary Clinton and that Inquirer story you said, and I'm overlaying this with the Clinton Foundation taking money from henchmen in the Ukraine and her emails. She's extremely sloppy in every single area. And this is someone that's supposed to be in charge of the military, potentially. Forgetting the legality, extremely sloppy,
Look, she should have been indicted by the FBI. And she should have been held massively accountable for Benghazi. And for basically calling the families of the victims liars. She should have been excoriated by the media over that 10 times more than Donald Trump was for going after the families of the mother and father of a slain Muslim, the Khan family.
Trump is Mother Teresa compared to her. I just want to bring in a scriptural reference about exposure.
Yeah.
David murdered Uriah. He didn't do it directly, but he had it done.
Murder.
And God knew it. No one else knew it until a prophet came about it and informed him. So there's stuff that can still be exposed on Hillary Clinton, and God knows it. And it's important. It's substantial.
Yeah, Joe, it's a sobering thought. And for those listening who say, man, I got junk in my past, we'll deal with it before God. And if you come to him right now, if you don't know the Lord, he'll forgive you for everything you did. And he'll give you a path to restoration if you need to make things right, if you've broken the law, if you need to confess. You say, but I betrayed my wife. I committed adultery. Yeah, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to have to sit down and say, yeah, I've been sleeping with this woman the last year. But it's the only way that your marriage can be saved. And ultimately, as hard as it is, God can give grace to you and your wife. It all depends on how you humble yourself now. So just a little preaching there off of what Joe said. But yeah, very, very important. When things are revealed, how do we deal with them today? And yes, David hardened his heart after he did what he did. He took Bathsheba, his wife, was going on business as usual. And some time went by before the prophet confronted him. But he immediately repented. He made no excuses and then wrote Psalm 51. What we need to see from Donald Trump is a deeper repudiation. It doesn't need to sound like a preacher. A deeper repudiation of some of the things from the past. Fine, if they're false allegations from the other women, only God and the people know themselves. But what we do know, that tape, his crude talk, his behavior in the past that we know about, let him repudiate it and clearly say, yeah, I did those things. It's not the man I am. I'm ashamed of it. There's no excuse for it. To call it locker room talk was a further insult, and I regret that. Forgive me. Hey, there's redemption for everybody. That's the great thing about America. And Melania Trump sitting right next to him, echoing those words, this is the man that I know, that I've been married to all these years. Then move forward. The things that are being revealed about Hillary Clinton, the media is just not shouting out for everyone else to hear. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go over to Noland in Richmond, Virginia. Thanks for calling the Line of Fire.
Yes, I agree 100% with the things you're saying, and I think people are making it more complicated than it is. At the end of the day, they can call Trump nasty, but Hillary nasty. The difference between Trump and Hillary, one is in your face, and one is sneaky and do it behind your back. And I'd rather deal with somebody that just be up front with me. I know what I'm getting. And if you look at everything with Hillary, she's smiling, but doing the total opposite behind closed doors. And I don't trust her one bit. And people are trying to make it. For me, it's not even, some things a friend of mine was saying, I was praying the Holy Spirit about something. I say, look, some things I'm not going to waste the Holy Spirit time on. At the end of the day, He's nasty in your face. Now, the thing that helped me is everything I agree with what you said, the Supreme Court and all that stuff, because Hillary don't care. She don't care about life. She don't care about any of it. So it's just, for me, it's either in your face or you're going to have somebody sneaky behind your back. And when they talk about these women issues, I've never heard Bill Clinton apologize for all the stuff that he did. And he was president while he did some of this stuff.
Yeah, Nolan, when you bring that up, Tiger Woods recently did an interview and was asked about any regrets that he has. And he said, he wished he spent another year at Stanford. And what about the affairs and all the women he slept with? As a married man, as a father, I wish did another year at Stanford. All the junk in the past is forgivable. But it's the comments of the attitude today that's the shocker. Same with Trump. And yes, I'd rather, if someone's going to lie, they lied to my face rather than behind my back. Or let's just say they were who they were to my face, as offensive as it would be, rather than smiled at me and said it behind my back. Thank you, Nolan. And look, we don't have your normal choices. It's so extreme, this candidacy, more extreme than normal with presidential choices. So we're looking at it like, okay, we got 10 items on the list in terms of our responsibilities and changing America and so on. And part of it is voting for president. That may be number 7 on the list. Okay, who are you going to vote for? Okay, it's between this and this. I don't have a candidate that lives up to my standards. Okay, but between these two, you got to pick one. I'll pick this one. Now, ultimately, you don't have to pick one or the other. You don't have to vote at all. You could pick another candidate. But I would highly recommend that, as many have said, the best way to vote against Hillary is to vote for Trump, but to vote fully understanding the potential pitfalls and constantly reminding yourself of what our role is rather than looking for the White House to do what we're supposed to do. All right? We've got a bunch of folks on hold. I'm going to get your calls right on the other side of the break, so thanks for your patience. And a reminder, our brand new book, Breaking the Stronghold of Food. You can pre-order it for January delivery on Amazon. They've got it at a great price there. But Breaking the Stronghold of Food, the first book ever written together by Nancy and me with our story, with humor, with inspiration, with scriptural principle, with practical principles. It'll change your life. It could add years to your life, literally. You can pre-order it and get it in time for Christmas, but you're not just getting a pre-ordered book. It is a collector's item. It will be numbered and signed by Nancy and me from the very first printing. Order as many as you want. You'll get them before Christmas. Go to thelineoffire.org. My bottom line today, not a perfect choice. It's a difficult choice, but I plan to vote for Donald Trump. Thank you so much for joining us on The Line of Fire. Michael Brown here. So blessed to be your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. I do want to talk to you about the elections. I want to talk to them in the most redemptive way that I can. Let me first say a couple of things. The theme of revolution is not new to me. I've been preaching on this, writing about it for, about 17 years now, if not a little longer. And what revolution is radical, dramatic, sweeping change. Out with the old, in with the new. Earthly, worldly revolutions tend to replace one bad earthly system with another bad earthly system. They are often bloody and murderous and destructive. Often they do more harm than good. But the revolution I'm talking about is a Jesus revolution. It is a gospel-based moral and cultural revolution. It is Jesus changing us and us going to change the world. It is overcoming evil with good. It is overcoming hatred with love. It is overcoming lies with truth. It is overcoming darkness with light. It is overcoming fleshly energy with the power of the Holy Spirit. So, I've been speaking about this for years and saying we must have revolution in the church, radical change in the church, so that we can see radical change in the society. Saying this for years, read my book, Revolution, and another book, Revolution in the Church. One came out in 2000. The other came out just a few years after that. You'll see these things articulated years back. People are saying, what do you mean revolution? Why do we need revolution? Yeah, we need some change here and there, but things aren't so bad. Now, more and more are recognizing that need. So I'm not some Johnny-come-lately to this. We've been shouting this out long enough, and now people are listening more. In particular, warnings we've given for over a decade regarding radical LGBT activism, reaching out to the people with compassion. If that's you as a listener, you identify as LGBT, I care about you the same as I care for a straight neighbor. In fact, I care for you even more because I know how you feel rejected by the gospel, rejected by people like me, rejected by God, rejected by the church. And you may have had many unique struggles growing up and suffered rejection from others and even physical harassment and attack. My heart goes out to you. Jesus shed the same blood for you that he shed for me as a straight, white, Jewish American. That being said, I absolutely stand against the goals of gay activism and have said for years that those who came out of the closet want to put us in the closet. So I'm not announcing something new now. It's that people are getting it. It's like I've been an umbrella salesman in the desert hawking umbrellas for years, and people said, what do we need umbrellas for? We're in the desert. Why are you building warehouses filled with umbrellas? We're in the desert. Now that the rain has been pouring down and the forecast says it's going to be heavier and heavier rain in the months ahead, and everybody wants the umbrellas, you understand why I've been saying what I've been saying. So we're going to focus on the elections. We're going to take your calls as I explain who I'm voting for and why. We've had a great discussion the past hour already. I want to encourage you, though, not to be paralyzed by looking at what's going to happen in the White House, because our task remains the same. Our task remains the same. Our task to be disciples and make disciples, to know the Lord and make him known, our task remains the same either way. So I want to get that out. I want to take your calls. I want to share my concerns and my potential expectations, why I'm voting the way I am. After many months of prayerful reflection, we'll do that when we come back. 866-348-7884 is the number to call.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
My opponent thinks belittling women makes him bigger, and he goes after their dignity and their sense of self-worth. It's our job to make it very clear. That may be who Donald Trump is, but this election is about who we are and what we believe and what we stand up for.
Yeah, I understand that this is one of Donald Trump's greatest weaknesses, how he has insulted women during the campaign. Of course, he's insulted men as well, and how his past behavior, or at least his past words, coming back to haunt him. The big issue is how he responds to them today. This is Michael Brown. You're listening to The Line of Fire. The number to call is 866-348-7884. Before I go to your calls, I want to encourage you to read carefully my article that was posted first yesterday and then on other sites today, which is why I will vote for Donald Trump. All along the way, as I was issuing warnings about Donald Trump during the primaries, as I was explaining why evangelicals should not vote for him when we had other excellent choices, as I was saying that there are others who can easily defeat Hillary, that Donald Trump would be the one whom Hillary could defeat, that all that time I was also praying and asking the Lord, Father, there are some who claim that you're raising up Donald Trump, that you're raising him up to be a wrecking ball to political correctness, that you're using him like a Cyrus figure, someone who doesn't know you and yet will be used for the good of the people of God and the good of the nation. Is that true? Now, I never sensed God showing me that was true. I did pray. I did ask for insight. Many times we can see things through human eyes, and God has another plan. Look at some of the people God chose in the book of Judges. Jephthah, son of a prostitute. Samson, man who got in trouble with prostitutes all the time. And yet, God used them. On the flip side, they had so many failings and weaknesses and impulsive behaviors and fleshly aspects that they also brought harm on themselves as well. And subsequently, because say Samson's life cut short in terms of what he could have done, that ends up hurting the whole nation. So I looked at these things, and I've simply come to the conclusion that, okay, it's been obvious for months that the best way to defeat Hillary Clinton is by voting for Donald Trump, not by sitting out the election or voting for a third-party candidate. That's been obvious, self-evident. Everyone knows that. If you can just say 1 + 1 is 2, you know that. But I could not in conscience say I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Why am I saying now that I will vote for him? Read my article by going to thelineoffire.org. You'll also see a recent article just came out this morning on how Snopes.com, which is supposed to be a fact-checking website, exposes an extreme liberal bias and wrongly checks facts about a Hillary Clinton speech and wrongly says that she would not threaten religious liberties in America. You better believe she would. So what's happened is this. I have concluded, number one, that on certain positions that are important to me, namely abortion and religious liberty, that Donald Trump really intends to do the right thing with Supreme Court justices and standing for the unborn and standing for religious freedoms. As flawed a man as he is, I believe that he's serious about these things, that he has had a change of heart, and it's only deepened now in recent months. Now, anything could happen. Things could change. But from everything I can tell, he's serious about those things. And Hillary Clinton is dead set to go in the opposite direction. Even if we say, well, look, abortion, if you go back to Roe v. Wade, there were mainly Republican justices. And I'm hoping to write an article about that. How important is it in terms of who we appoint? But would anyone differ and say if we had a conservative president in the last 8 years and we didn't have Justices Sotomayor and how does my mind just blank out? And Kagan, the other very liberal Obama appointees, that if we had conservative appointees or less liberal appointees, that some recent decisions wouldn't have gone in different directions. That's pretty much undeniable. Plus, Hillary Clinton will appoint 250 federal justices. And those are lifelong appointees. You say, didn't you always know this? Yes, I always knew it. But I wasn't confident enough about where Donald Trump would stand. You say, but what about, his behavior, the whole country the White House could now be like National Enquirer and Jerry Springer show every day. Think of the effect that could have on the nation, on young people. I understand that's a genuine concern. But I have seen him, from everything I know privately, listening to and trying to respond to godly counsel. So I'm hoping, based on months of not refusing godly counsel, that he's stepping in the right direction. Am I saying, oh, he's born again? God told me he's going to be born again. No, God didn't tell me any such thing, and I see no evidence that he is born again. Nor am I putting my hope in some radical conversion. I'm putting my hope in what is right now, that'll continue. Those are a few things on my heart. We'll talk about this more. I want to go to your phone calls, 866-34-TRUTH. We'll start with Chris in Charlotte. Thanks for calling the Line of Fire.
Hey, Dr. Brown. Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I don't have a problem at all with your choice for who it is that you're going to vote for. My concern is that a comment that you made, and I've heard, some of my other friends that have made it that are Christian as well, is that I guess the liberal pastors or something that are going to go on Oprah Winfrey and they're going to, stand with Hillary Clinton or whatever. It was positioned as if they were sinful and they needed to repent because of their vote and what they may align themselves with on that side. And I think that's unfair. Secondly, there seems to be this beautiful presentation of grace when it comes to Donald Trump, but I don't see the same grace when it comes to Hillary Clinton. When it comes to her, and I would say that grace would be even more beautifully shown for those who we don't agree with, as opposed to we show grace to those who we have some agreement with. I would like your comment on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great points and questions. Let me respond to the second one first. I will be gracious to someone in the midst of disagreement, but that won't change my disagreement. You've heard me, if you listen to the show, be respectful with callers who I think are in complete, deep error. I'm still going to treat them as fellow human beings, people for whom Jesus died, people created in the image of God yet fallen. I'll treat them respectfully in the midst of severe differences. I might even rebuke them, but I'll do it with grace. When it comes to Trump, though, the talk is, can we forgive his past if he acknowledges it's wrong? That's different than Hillary Clinton denying that she's done wrong and continuing to cover up. In other words, if Donald Trump was continuing to speak about women the way he did, and certainly many of his comments in the campaign have been horrific towards women. But if there was a tape of him last week saying the same things he said 11 years ago, that puts things in a whole different light. Because he has said it's wrong, I hate it, I'm ashamed of it, and he needs to repudiate that even more clearly and say even to call it locker room talk was very wrong and vile and degrading to women, and I apologize for that. I am a different man. I've been different for years, talked to my wife and family and friends. But Hillary Clinton continues to deny wrongdoing. She should have been indicted by the FBI. If she should have been nailed to the wall by Congress over her failings with Benghazi. And other things like that. And if, in fact, she stood with her husband to demonize women that he abused, and she's never repudiated that, then it's not a matter of showing her grace and forgiveness. It's a matter of calling her to account. So that's one thing. With regard to liberal pastors and others that would appear on Oprah, or the 100 or so pastors who laid hands on Hillary and said that God's anointed her for this time, if they said God's anointed you to destroy America, God's anointed you like he anointed Nebuchadnezzar to destroy Judah, God's anointed you to bring judgment on the church, so we're laying hands on you for that purpose, but we're not going to vote for you, that'd be one thing. But they're saying God's raising you up as the right candidate to bless America. I rebuke that. I rebuke that as sinful and wrong and deluded. I tell those pastors, whoever they were saying that on Oprah or anywhere else, you are wrong. I don't care if your ministry reaches 10 times more people than mine. You are wrong. If you're older than me, I will appeal to you with the respect due to an elder. But I say it again, if you vote for Hillary Clinton, you have the blood of the unborn on your hands, and you're giving her the tape to gag our mouths and the rope to tie our hands. So I feel that strongly from the heart. I'm accountable to God for those words, and I am making that statement dogmatically. If you say, well, I can't vote for either candidate, I fully respect that and understand that and got no difference. But that's from the heart, Chris, the way I feel before the Lord, my understanding of Scripture, my understanding of my responsibility as a servant of the Lord, and I don't apologize for those words. So, hey, Chris, we're out of time, but thank you for the call, and I hope I answered your questions directly. And thank you, sir, for raising those questions in such a respectful, gracious way. That's what we have to do. So you heard my comments clearly. Thank you for the respect with which you asked and listened. God bless you.
Oh, God of burning, cleansing flame, send the fire.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown. Get into the Line of Fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Line of Fire, 866-348-7884. We go over to Richmond, Virginia. Russell, thanks for calling The Line of Fire.
Hey, Dr. Brown. Good to talk. Good to hear from you.
Thanks.
You mentioned earlier about that God could change Trump's heart. And then you mentioned also about Nebuchadnezzar and how God used him, and God changed Nebuchadnezzar's heart. We're going from building a 60-foot golden statue, worship me, to everybody needs to follow the God of Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't God also change the heart of Hillary Clinton if she gets elected, and that she reverses her stance on some of the areas that you stand against her about?
Yes, Russell, that's a terrific biblical question. I mean, you're giving us some good theology there to think about the difference between Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel 3 and Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel 4, humbled by the Lord. So, of course, God can do that, and if she was elected, we pray for it. But when it comes to voting, if I had to vote for someone who currently holds to some, in his platform and in his promises, holds to some values that are very dear to me and that are very important for the nation, versus someone who is diametrically opposed to those things and who could actually try to restrict someone like me from even saying these things on the air, and the first person right now is surrounded by godly leaders, including people like Mike Pence and Ben Carson, and then more behind the scenes, people like James Robison and others, a frequent guest on my own radio show, and someone I'm in touch with several times a week by phone, that he's listening to those people and not shutting them out. And as James Robison said on my broadcast, that he's been in the face of Donald Trump. And Rudy Giuliani said, you need to Trump, you need to listen to what this man has to say. So I know that is happening, and that some say that there are some positive changes already. Again, I'm not there. I can't witness to it. But some say there are changes versus Hillary Clinton not having an open door to any people like us to get anywhere near her. Why would I vote then for the Nebuchadnezzar figure in that respect? Why would I vote for the person that first is going to bring tremendous hardship on our nation? Nebuchadnezzar caused horrific suffering in Judah, raised up by God to judge the people of Judah and Jerusalem. I mean, horrific bloodshed. Just read Lamentations a few times through. That's what Nebuchadnezzar did. Why would I vote for that as opposed to voting for the other person and praying for mercy?
That's a good point. You mentioned about being surrounded by people. Tim Kaine is a Catholic, and he's a strong person of faith. He's also pro-life.
No, he's not. No. Tim Kaine is notoriously pro-abortion. Their calls for their bishops calling him to repent. And he said we need to change what we believe about the Bible when it comes to same-sex marriage. Tim Kaine has drawn the ire of leading Catholic, of top Catholic leaders. Go to a place like Life News or LifeSite News that will document how Tim Kaine is a strong pro-abortion candidate. Hillary Clinton would not have anyone anywhere near her in the campaign that's not a strong pro-abortion candidate. Tim Kaine is a Catholic hypocrite. He absolutely repudiates fundamentals of Catholicism and says the church needs to change, and he expects the church will change in its views on homosexuality. I've written about it. Just go to thelineoffire.org, click on Digital Library. So go to thelineoffire.org, click on Digital Library, and type in Kaine, Kaine, and you'll see my article about him. No, just search for Tim Kaine Catholicism, and you'll see Catholic leaders, bishops rebuking him. I'm not a Catholic, but he should not be allowed to have communion in the Catholic Church with his views, as I understand Catholic teaching. But thank you, Russell, for the call. I'll say it again. If you get mad at me, fine. If you vote for Hillary Clinton, you got the blood of the unborn on your hands, and you've given her the tape to put over our mouths and the rope to tie our hands as followers of Jesus. I'm warning. And if it happens, what am I going to do? Shout the message from the rooftops even louder. If she gets elected, back down. No! Shout the message even louder and pray for her. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the call, Russell. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go over to Ian in Dallas, Texas. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hey, Michael. Thanks for taking my call. I was in the same boat as you, man. I mean, I didn't know. I knew I wasn't going to vote for Hillary, but I knew if I was going to vote for anyone, it had to be Trump, because it's either him or Hillary. No one else is going to win. And I think you have, like, there's this stigma on him amongst evangelicals, so they don't want to vote for him because of, all the comments and things like that, and they think it'll hurt their testimony. And so really it comes down to a biblical thing. Is it biblical then for us to vote for Donald Trump? And it wasn't until last week that I actually came to a decision that, okay, I'm going to vote for Trump. And when I prayed, Lord, is there anything in Scripture, like an example of any kind? Because I've heard, like what you're saying with Cyrus and Nebuchadnezzar and all this, but nothing really was convincing me of that. And the Lord really brought two passages to mind. It's actually while I was listening to your show, I was praying this. And then I just want to share that with you and with your audience, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please, go right ahead.
So first, there's a biblical obligation, I believe, brought up in 1 Timothy, a familiar passage where it says in chapter 2, first of all, then, I urge you that entreaties and prayers, petitions and thanksgiving be made on behalf of all men, for kings and all who are in authority, so that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life in all godliness and dignity. So prayer, of course, is it's when it comes to voting, that's secondary in comparison to prayer. I would imagine then if we have an obligation to pray for our leaders so that we can live a quiet and tranquil and godly life, then we're definitely obligated, if given the right to vote in that direction.
All right, so if one candidate, right, if we should pray for that environment where we're not going to be persecuted, we can have freedom to live out our faith, then we should vote in that direction. Yeah, I think that's a totally fair deduction. And real quick, we've got a break coming up. The second biblical principle.
I hope I can go over this quick enough. So then there's a biblical example that I found kind of in Genesis. It's not exactly like what we're dealing with, but there is application. You look at whenever Joseph became governor in Egypt, Pharaoh was still king over Egypt. And there was a famine over all the land, including Canaan, where Jacob was. And what happens? Well, yes, he comes down with the children of Israel to dwell in Egypt, but he comes down there to protect himself from the famine and to live in submission under Pharaoh, who was a godless man. And
all right, so sorry to jump in. I hope this is where you're going with it. Even if Donald Trump was raised up, hence the Pharaoh position, there could be godly men around him that counsel him, through which many lives could be saved. I don't know if you're going that direction. That'd be my application. All right, got to run. Be right back.
The election is being rigged by corrupt media pushing false allegations and outright lies in an effort to elect Hillary Clinton president.
All right. What if, of course, those are the words of Donald Trump. What if I was in a situation where I had to choose between two different top surgeons who were going to operate? I had some condition, I needed delicate surgery, let's say to repair, it was broken bones, and I had to choose between two surgeons. One was better known for this, one was better known for that, right? So I've got to choose between two. But hang on. Now another choice has come up. I've got to get to the hospital immediately. If I don't get to the hospital quickly enough, I'm going to lose too much blood and I could die. And the question about who's going to operate to fix the bone, that's secondary to the fact that I've been injured and I'm cut open, I'm going to lose blood. And I've got to choose between a very safe, cautious driver who has not gotten a ticket in 10 years and someone who drives with fury and is willing to take some risks and has gotten quite a few tickets, but will get me to the hospital quick. All right, put me in that car. What about the surgeon? Well, right now, put me in that car because that's the choice I have to make. I kind of feel like that with the elections today, and obviously my analogy overall is dealing with different scenarios and is not meant to be precise. We were looking at certain choices for president, assuming that Hillary Clinton would be the Democrat candidate, and the vast, 99% plus of followers of Jesus that I know personally could not vote for Hillary Clinton for many reasons. So the question was, who would be the best alternative on the Republican side? And we had a bunch of people known to be born-again Christians. We had, men like Scott Walker, known for strong Christian testimony. Men like Ted Cruz, a strong evangelical, Marco Rubio, a strong Catholic, and others, okay? One after another. So we had all those as alternatives to Hillary, and that's why I so strongly warned against voting for Donald Trump during the primary, saying that if he wins the nomination, then I will reevaluate my position and strategy because it will be Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. I've done that consistently now through the months if you follow what I've written chronologically, what I've said on the radio, and what I've talked about on video. Right now, there's a certain urgency to the situation, and Hillary Clinton, to me, would not be the safe driver in this analogy. Hillary Clinton would be the driver who will get me to the wrong destination, period. Will never get me to that hospital. Donald Trump would be the driver who's going to drive up on the curb and may even endanger some people as he does, but he will honk the horn. but he's got a chance of getting to the hospital to save my life, and then I can worry about the right surgeon. Do you follow me? So I've decided, after looking at this for months and praying about it and thinking about it, based on Donald Trump clearly convincing me that he does believe in appointing conservative justices, pro-Constitution justices to the Supreme Court, based on the fact that he continues to be surrounded by godly leaders who are speaking into his life on sometimes a daily basis, and he's not shutting them out, although I don't see the change I want to see yet. I hear that things are happening. That's positive. The biggest thing is he hasn't shut them out. And I know what Hillary Clinton has promised to do if elected president. And therefore, because a vote's just a vote, the role of church remains the same. Vote is just a vote. I have decided, unless something earth-shattering happens between now and the elections, to vote for Donald Trump. I respect those who are never Trump and say, hey, I can't vote for him. I respect that. I understand that. I understand the concerns about what he could do wrong if elected. I respect that. But I feel it's best to vote for him. I'm not endorsing him. I've been asked for months what I'll do. That's why I share it, because I've been asked. If it's of value to you, great. But I will say again, I've said it over and over, if you vote for Hillary Clinton, you've got the blood of the unborn on your hands, and you've given her the tape to gag our mouths and the rope to tie our hands.
You can't call yourself a neutral journalist and then, practice opinionism. And that's what we're seeing in the United States. We're seeing more the death of journalism and the birth of opinionism. I mean, even in our big newspapers, some of our great newspaper institutions, you see opinions in the first 3 paragraphs of stories that never happened before, and it's not good for news.
Yeah, absolutely accurate. That was Barry Bennett on RT with Sophie Shevardnadze. Yes, this is a global news channel broadcasting from Moscow and Washington studios. He's a Republican strategist, former senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Speaking of the death of journalism, yeah, look, whether Donald Trump is elected or not, you talk about a full bringing out to the surface the bias of the media. And Hillary Clinton, in a fundraising email, basically said that right-wing sites like Breitbart.com don't even have a right to exist. She said, oh, yeah, you have conservative media and has every right to be there. But then you have these websites like Breitbart don't even deserve to be there. You talk about potential crackdown, potential censorship. It could easily happen. Easily. I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to take your calls. 866-348-7884. Okay. InterVarsity Press, fine Christian publisher. InterVarsity is first a campus ministry, then became a publishing house, and InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. And InterVarsity has recently called on all of their employees, so they've got folks on campuses all over America and in other nations. If you do not agree with our moral standards when it comes to marriage, in other words, if you believe that 2 men or 2 women can, quote, marry, then we're asking you to come forward and resign. And they've come under flack for that, but all they're doing is holding to their position, and of course they have to do that, obviously, and that's a gracious way to do it. Rather than witch hunt, say, show integrity and come forth, and because you're undermining who we are, what we believe. I think that's a gracious way to do it, act with integrity towards all. Now, the Society of Biblical Literature, which is worldwide massive society, more liberal than conservative, but that if you want to go to a conference where there's cutting edge discussion of scholarship and recognition, that's a SBL, so Society of Biblical Literature. Years back, I used to present papers at these conferences, both national and local, but haven't for ages. Anyway, one of the neat things is that all these different publishers have book tables where they've got their latest books coming out and new publications are announced there. And it's a real neat place to go. Of course, you meet other scholars, interact. Thousands and thousands are there. But it's a great place for publishers. They time release of books with these big conferences. And then there are others that tie in with this as well. Well, they've now said that they will not carry books by InterVarsity because of their decision. That is blatant academic censorship, saying you cannot hold to biblical Christian values and have a presence at our table. That type of stuff would be deeply reinforced by a Hillary Clinton presidency. Listen, unless God supernaturally restrained her, this is exactly who she is and what she would do. And she has said it without the power of the presidency. Give her the power of the presidency, and who knows what would happen. Am I fearful? No. What if I end up off the air and in jail? Keep preaching and believe that God will give me a louder voice, just like Paul wrote from jail and John Bunyan wrote from jail. That's the least concern I have. Zero concern over that. But we've got to be wise. This is talking about our kids and our grandkids and future generations. No, I'm not looking at Donald Trump to be the savior. He is as raw and uncouth as they come. And I repudiate things he's done and who he's been, even during the campaign. I hope he's doing better. He certainly tried to restrain himself in the last debate. You could see it. You could see it. So I believe he could do better if he keeps working at it and listens to the right people. But a vote for him is also a protest vote against the extreme liberal media bias and even corruption and collusion that seems to be revealed now with WikiLeaks and failures in the Justice Department and the FBI. Let it all be exposed. Let it all be exposed. 866-348-7884. Let's start with Deborah in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Thank you for calling the Line of Fire.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. I agree completely with your rationales, your reason for your decision. I had a horrible struggle with this myself. Rick Santorum said one time, and this changed me so completely, on the abortion issue, where he's very much against abortion, but he, kind of was going to vote for something that was kind of a compromise, and so he got kind of attacked for that. And he said, it's moving the ball in the right direction. We have to move the ball in the right direction in this election. We cannot continue to let people into office that are slaughtering our babies every day and forcing that blood down our throat. I had an abortion 34 years ago, and no one can tell me that that was okay. No one can tell me I had a right to do that to my child. It is not okay, and no Christian on the planet should be okay with that, no matter what the other candidate issues are. We must vote against Hillary. We cannot let her in office. Donald Trump, like you said, he's surrounded with godly counsel. He has expressed repentance. No, he's not a perfect candidate, but like Rick Santorum said, this is moving the ball in the right direction, and I commend you on your decision, Dr. Brown.
Hey, Deborah, thank you, and thank you for sharing so openly. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. And thank you for being open about your pain from the past as a word to others. And there is forgiveness. In Jesus, there is forgiveness. Some of you are hurting just as you heard what she said. There is forgiveness in the Lord. But put this aside. Put aside Supreme Court justices. The culture would be negatively affected by Hillary Clinton. The culture would be negatively affected by her views on abortion. It would further legitimize. You have a bully pulpit. You have a bully pulpit with the presidency. If Donald Trump is going to continue to say what he has said with comments like, late partial birth abortion, you're tearing the baby out of the mother's womb. I mean, it's horrific when saying it's horrific. Let that be out for the culture to hear. Yeah, incremental, step in the right direction. Yeah, I'm not going to say he's not a perfect candidate. That's the massive understatement. A massively flawed candidate, but the candidate I'll vote for to oppose Hillary Clinton, and with the hope that in some key ways God will use him to do the right thing. And it's not a blind hope. It's not a blind hope. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go to Anthony in Clover, South Carolina. Thank you for calling the Line of Fire.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Thanks for answering my call.
You're very welcome.
I'm calling about, you can hear me good because I'm in a car and I'm driving and...
Just you concentrate on driving and I can hear you.
Oh, okay, that's all right. I'm just confused about a lot of things. I see that people tend to believe in like Dara HaKadosh is our God, it's our lead. He helps us to make decisions and wise decisions. He shows us things. And I'm listening to your show, and, I'll listen to it sometime. I don't listen to it too often because I really think it's not godly, for one man to figure he knows everything, because even Solomon didn't know everything, and he had wisdom from God.
Well, Anthony, let me just ask you this, though.
Let me finish.
No, but hang on.
Okay.
Of course, listen or don't listen, that's up to you. But in point of fact, There are thousands of things I don't know that I say freely, and I've struggled with certain decisions for ages, and I'm very careful. So, do you have convictions about anything, Anthony? Are there things that are black and white, right and wrong, that you won't move on?
About the discernment.
Are there certain things in your life that you have black and white convictions on?
They should be able to see good and evil. They should be able to see the evil in Hillary and Donald Trump. They should be able to see this. I mean, you can see what spirits that these people have that follows behind them. And for a Christian to say that they have the spirit, but then look like they go right back to thinking, well, it's them now. Like the lady said, we got to get the ball rolling. No, we can't do nothing. It's all God, what he want to do. It's the Holy Spirit that leads us.
But don't we have responsibility?
Knowledge about things.
Don't we have responsibility? Anthony, sir, I don't mind disagreement, but I try to interact with you, ask you a question, and you won't even let me talk on my own show. I'm trying to get clarity so we could make this constructive, all right? But when you won't respond to what I'm saying and won't even allow me to ask a question on my own show, I got to cut the call short. When you say you won't listen because no man knows everything and I'm claiming to know everything, what? God forbid. God forbid. If I'm going to say something about Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, you better believe I'm going to weigh every word. And on my knees before God. And only do it if I feel I can be constructive and helpful. So, anyway, do you have convictions that are life and death, black and white, that you won't move from, that you'll tell your family, your friends? So do I. So do I. And I'm steadfast against Christians voting for Hillary Clinton. And I stand accountable before God for my comments. Hey, wish the call could have gone better. Maybe another time. Thank you, sir.
How is she going to explain it? She's going to have to explain it only if she's pressed by people in the media. And if she's not pressed, she won't explain.
That was former U.S. Attorney General Mukasey, interviewed by Maria Bartiromo on Fox News, talking about the pay-to-play allegations, the corruption with Clinton Foundation, Secretary Clinton, etc. The charges, the very real charges that are being brought against Hillary Clinton, her campaign, that she's only going to have to answer for them, and John Podesta is only going to have to answer for them if in fact, their feet are held to the fire, and the media's not doing that. One reason I vote for Donald Trump is a protest vote against the liberal media bias, which is overwhelming. Look, it makes it unfair in that sense. Look, why is it that if we're going to post on Facebook, if we have radical liberal extreme views of the most horrific kind, no problem. Some basic conservative views, you get banned and blocked. Why is that? The same thing happens on Twitter. Look what the IRS has done. So in that sense, my vote for Donald Trump is a protest vote against these other things. While I have grave concerns about potential damage he could do as president, I feel I should vote. And I feel a vote for him is a vote against Hillary Clinton and a vote standing for certain things. But once he's in, pray for him like crazy. Keep praying for godly people to surround him and focus on doing what we're supposed to do rather than looking to him to do it. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go to Wendy in Wake County, North Carolina.
Hi, Dr. Brown. I have a lot of respect for you. I've been listening to you for a while, and I really have learned a lot from you while I listen. But I have two questions today, and one of them is, can you point to any evidence where effort has been made by James Robinson or Ben Carson or the host of the others to reach Hillary Clinton with counseling and prayer and all of the things that they do for Donald Trump? That's number one. I would like to know what the efforts have been that they've done to reach her, because everybody keeps saying she is not receptive, but they don't offer information about how she rejected their effort to help her. And so I would like to know something about that, if there's some stuff, some evidence there, information rather. And secondly, you're a highly respected, you're a public figure. You and I'm one of those who do respect and a lot of your work is right on, and I think God has used you tremendously to convey a message to the entire world about what's happening to America. So I don't dispute that. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, what would be the purpose of telling the masses that you reach who you're going to vote for, like you or a non-Christian? Why would they tell it? I mean, there are other people like Glenn Black and all of them who say who they're voting for too, and that is for the sole purpose, I believe, to tell people, those masses that they reach, who to vote for. And I'm wondering whether or not that borderlines being unethical or not. I don't know how to the terminology or how to express what I'm trying to ask. But I don't know another reason why anybody would say, except what you've expressed.
Yeah.
But when you're on the radio and you're a public figure and you're high power, you're a powerful person, like all those others that are praying for Donald Trump. It's almost like to say to them, you better do this, because if you don't, you're siding with the abortionists. And I think that your mission for being on the radio all the time, most of the time to me, is to provide information and let the people who be informed, who are not informed, and to make sound decisions through prayer if you're a Christian. And if you're not a Christian, you still have to make your own decision. So that's kind of like what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because I don't mean
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
offensive or anything.
No. Wendy, you couldn't be more gracious. And can I use your call as an opportunity to speak to all of my listeners? Because I know that there are people like you listening who take me seriously and respect me. I wrestle with all these issues because the last thing I want to do is misplace your trust. The last thing I want to do is walk in a way that's not worthy of what the Lord's entrusted me with. The last thing I want to do is hurt someone who is saying, hey, Dr. Brown, could you give me wisdom on this? So I don't want to say something that is going to stir up controversy and get a lot of people, reading what I write and listening to the show, but is going to hurt people and wound sheep or mislead in any way. So I thank you for your spirit and for your call, and I want to answer your questions as clearly as I can. I've only got about 2 minutes, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to try to speak without interacting a lot from here on, so I can do my best to finish. Number one, I do not know if Ben Carson or James Robinson or others have attempted to reach out to Hillary Clinton. I'm not sure. I will ask. I don't have a direct connection to Ben Carson, but to James Robinson and some others I do. I can only say that there are pastors of big churches I've tried to reach out to. So I've got my own platform and reach a lot of people. So I'm not some nobody in that little respect, right? But if I was going to reach out to some of these pastors, I can't even get to them, let alone Hillary Clinton. So from what I know, there's not any door open on any level anywhere, any door open anywhere at all to get anywhere near her from any of us. I know James Robinson spoke to, I think, 13 or 14 out of the 16 or 17 Republican candidates, had access to almost every one of them, and has great access to many leaders. But as far as I know, the door is totally slammed shut. But I will ask that question. I know people are praying for her. That I know. And I've written an article, Do We Have the Love of Christ for Hillary Clinton?, to call us to that very thing, to prayer. But I will ask. As for why I'm saying who I'm voting for, I'm not making an endorsement. I did earlier endorse Ted Cruz, but I'm not sure that I'll ever endorse a candidate again, because people then immediately filtered everything I said through that grid. And my greatest calling is to be a voice, not to be endorsing candidates. But I prayed a lot about it, Wendy. I've been asked about it over and over. I mean, countless thousands of people for months. And some have said, we respect your views. Could you share what they are? So after a lot of prayer, I don't mean God told me I have to, I'm claiming prophetic inspiration, but I felt I should do it. I felt it was the right thing to do, to be helpful. And because I have dire concerns about what Hillary Clinton would do to the unborn and our religious liberties, I feel a sacred calling to shout that from the rooftops. Hey, I'm out of time, but call again so we can talk further. Thank you. My bottom line, friends, let's all determine to please the Lord.